Hi, everybody. This is
Hello.
Calihan and Laura Lattman, and we are here at Five Stones Wellness. We were going to take a few minutes today and talk about immune support in this winter season full of viral illnesses and just kind of give our general recommendations for how we like to try to support the immune system, whether that's for illness or for more of a proactive immune support approach to wellness. So, Laura, when you are working with clients, you also help support the immune system by a lot of lifestyle factors, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can do, specifically looking at food. Um, Things to add in. Mushrooms are really good, especially the more funky mushrooms. So not necessarily the white ones, but shiitake, maitake, lion's mane. And I know
Reishi too. Yeah.
reishi, and I know you go to the farmer's market. I don't know if it's still open, but you get some awesome, crazy mushrooms from a
Yeah, there's
local
some
guy.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah,
He actually had lion's mane this past weekend, which they're just kind of cool to look at.
they
And
are.
a lot of oyster mushrooms. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, and those are
mushrooms
really
have some components that are really good to help support the immune system.
absolutely. And they've done studies, and it's more linked with cancer, but that can we can assume that it's working a little bit the same with other people, in that through cancer treatment, the medicinal mushrooms have been shown to increase white blood cell count in treatment where it brings the white blood cell count down. So, white blood cells are a really important part of our immune system. So we want to support those. So medicinal mushrooms are a really good natural way to do it. And supporting the immune system through food is a really effective and yet gentle way. So it works for most people. There's not a lot of contraindications with food like there is with supplements, although there's a lot of supplements that most people can do, which you'll talk about.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I am working with somebody with immune system issues, whether that is concern about how to have a healthy immune system through the cold and flu season, and this year particularly, everybody's worried about the COVID-19, and we don't have specific anti-COVID treatments, but we have a lot of general immune support that we believe helps sustain an immune system through any kind of viral illness, and that's what we're going to kind of touch on. But the other sort of category of people who I see are ones who are dealing with autoimmune situations, and there's just such an incredible rise in autoimmune, both illnesses, but also what I call autoimmune process. Um,
Yeah, and I know, so we have a list that we made up, that you made up, about stuff that helps with to help support the immune system, and you had some little caveats on there for the autoimmune patients. So what was that? What is that?
exactly. So that was some very basic measures to try to stay healthy, everything from good hand washing, um, distancing, wearing a mask, the very basics, up to specific targeted supplements that people can use to help support their health. And I would say probably the foundational ones that we all should be taking this time of year would be vitamins A, C, D, and you want your D level to be up in the higher end of normal. So I like to see vitamin D levels 50, 60, 70. Um, it's much more common than not that I see people whose vitamin D levels are 20, 28, maybe 30. And that just puts them behind the curve.
Yeah, and good food sources of vitamin D are oily fish. So small oily fish like salmon is good, and anchovies and sardines, if you like those. Those are good ways to get vitamin D in through food.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think most people probably have to supplement or probably should supplement.
Yeah.
Um, Particularly in the winter when we're not getting sunlight, because it's just hard to get enough vitamin D through natural sources, and it is so important in terms of helping to support the immune system.
So do you
But
have a recommendation for the amount that anybody could take, or is that really specific to each person?
ideally, it would be specific to what your blood level was. I find it's unusual that somebody can't tolerate, an adult that is. Most people can tolerate 5,000 units a day. That's how it's measured, international units. So many of the D supplements will be either 1,000 or 5,000 international units a day. A lot of times they put it with K2 as well, which is very useful for bones because people often want to use a vitamin D supplement to help bone health. But for the D itself, 5,000 units is generally safe until you can get into until we can get to such time that you can get in and get your blood level tested.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
Yeah. Vitamin A, vitamin C, those are really useful to help support the immune system too. I almost always recommend people take fish oil. That's just a good general immune support. Um, Quercetin is something that we're using quite a bit of right now to help support the immune system. And I know they're good food sources of quercetin.
There are. So onions are actually a really good food source of quercetin. Yeah, onions are good. And then green tea is actually a really good source of quercetin, and it's ECGC.
Mm-hmm.
That is also a good immune supporter compound. So yeah, the green tea
And
is
ECGC is basically the active ingredient in green tea, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you can get it as a supplement because it's a lot of green tea that you'd have to drink every day.
Yeah, I think it would be, what I've read is 5 cups, which isn't a ton, but if you're drinking other fluids, then that does come out to a lot of drinking. Yeah, and then
we need to have our zinc as well.
zinc, absolutely. And zinc is found in, meats and seafood, oysters specifically. And if you don't happen to eat meat, pumpkin seeds are actually a really awesome form of zinc. So you can get pumpkin seed butter or make your own. So that's a different way to incorporate them into your diet if you don't want to sprinkle seeds on everything. But yeah, that's a good way to get the zinc.
And can you tell people how to make pumpkin seed butter?
Yeah, so making any kind of a butter is pretty easy as long as you have a food processor. So if you're making pumpkin seed butter, I always get a mason jar full, so 4 cups of pumpkin seeds, throw it in the food processor, turn that on, and it takes about 20 minutes. And in the meantime, scraping down the sides and making sure it's still going. And then I also add a little bit of coconut oil just to make it more creamy, which you don't necessarily have to do. I think I get a little impatient in making my seed butter, and adding the coconut oil makes it go faster. So I'll do like 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. But yeah, it's super easy. Just put it in a food processor for about 20 minutes. And then at first it gets sort of pureed down to looking like a flour, and then it goes further and turns into butter.
So you're just starting with, people would buy in the grocery store just pumpkin seeds.
Yep, just raw pumpkin seeds. Mm-hmm. Yep, all you would buy is raw pumpkin seeds, and they're always shelled in the grocery store, so they're green instead of having the white outer coat that you would see if you pulled it out of a pumpkin.
So is your nut butter green?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah.
So might freak people out a little bit if they didn't know that it was pumpkin seed butter, but yes, the pumpkin seed butter comes out green.
I thought you had said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one other thing that is an incredible support to the immune system is melatonin. I know I was trained to think that you just use that if you needed help sleeping. But the truth is that it's really a very crucial component of helping the immune system. So that's a great thing that people can take really pretty safely. Some people are a little sensitive to it. So I would say about 3 milligrams is a good place to start. Some people are sensitive and 1 milligram is all they can tolerate, because occasionally people feel a little bit hungover the next day if they use melatonin. Some people need 5 or even 10 milligrams. So just kind of play with it and see.
And I always recommend taking that about 30 minutes before you go to bed.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And they're all different forms. You can take tablets, there's some drops, there's some sprays of melatonin, which when you take a lot of supplements, sometimes it gets a little tiresome just to keep taking pills all the time. So having another form of it is a nice thing to do.
It is. And speaking of melatonin and sleep, getting enough good sleep is also super important for your immune system. So if you're tired and getting less than 7 hours of sleep a night, then that's going to really bring down the immune system. So we want to make sure we're getting a lot of sleep.
And we talk about it a lot, but the same is true of dealing with stress. Stress is a very significant hit, if you will, on the immune system and how we function in general. So making sure that we deal with stress is really important.
So what is one way that you would have somebody deal with stress right now if they're sitting at home thinking there's no way that I can make this stress go away?
Well, you can't make the stress go away necessarily. So the key is to learn different tools to help your body manage the stress. And one of my absolute favorite ways is to do a breath practice, whether that's slow, deep breathing, whether that moves into more of a meditation, but almost everybody can find a way, even if you set an alarm once an hour and just stop and take 2 or 3 deep breaths, really like belly breaths, so that your diaphragm moves and you stick out your belly. Everybody can do that. And that will shift your physiology into more of a parasympathetic, less of the fight or flight. And true, when that minute is over and you're back to whatever you were doing, you may go back into a stress response. But the beauty is teaching your body to go in and out. And that's what's important to help just slowly lower the effect of the stress.
And I love that idea of setting an alarm on your phone. I actually tell people to do that every hour to remind them to drink water. So that could be another thing, because being properly hydrated is also really good for the immune system. So set an alarm every hour to take 3 deep breaths and drink some water.
Make it the trifecta. Get up and just walk too for just a few steps. Just move your body. I know Laura and I were talking yesterday because I had a whole day of pretty much virtual meetings, and it's just hard to sit all day. You know, you need to get up and move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's some really basic immune support. And then if people are dealing with a specific situation, even people who have contracted COVID and are dealing with that, there are immune supports that we want to target to further help the immune system. And that's less generalized recommendation and more personalized recommendations for people. But just know that we're here and available and can help you through that, because people who are dealing with COVID go through some fairly predictable phases of the illness, and we target different components of support at different phases of the illness. Yeah. Hopefully everyone's going to stay safe and not get it. But we know with the numbers escalating that people are going to get it. And we need to really be vigilant about supporting our immune system and our general health, overall health as we go through the process. And it's true of any viral illness that we're dealing with. So we are in flu season, and thankfully right now the flu doesn't seem to be terrible. Maybe we're going to catch a break this year, but any kind of viral illness on the system requires specific support.